Hello, I'm Philip Brunelle, Artistic Director and founder of Vocal Essence and organist choirmaster at Plymouth Congregational Church. Well, today the composer is a dear friend, a man who I admired greatly, Arthur Jennings, born in 1887, died in 1972. He was not only an organist and composer, he was a man that I revered greatly because it was at age 15 that I was invited to audition for him as an organ student here at Plymouth Church in the sanctuary. And I remember walking in that sanctuary and thinking, wow, what a beautiful, beautiful sanctuary. Wouldn't it be amazing sometime to be organist in a place like this? 9 years later, I got the call, and I have been here ever since. This is year 52. Well, Arthur Jennings grew up on the East Coast, and he had several jobs as organist out there, but then in 1938, he received the call to become the organist professor, the organ professor, at the University of Minnesota, where he remained until 1956 when he became professor emeritus. He also was then, shortly after arriving, invited to become the organist choirmaster at Plymouth Church. And he remained there until into the late 60s. Now, one of the stories of Arthur Jennings that I always remember, early in my teens when I was studying with him, we were doing a Franz Liszt piece, and I played a bit of it, and then he said, would you mind, let me show you how I interpret it. So he played the piece for me, and when he finished, of course, being a teenager, I said, well, that was very nice, Mr. Jennings, but I prefer it the way I did it. And he looked at me and said, well, that's fine. I wanted you to know my version because I learned that from my organ teacher, Gaston de Thiers, and he learned it from Franz Liszt. Oh, maybe I could consider another interpretation. Well, Mr. Jennings wrote music for choir that was very much a typical music of those times in the 20s, 30s, 40s. So the music like in his Benedictus es Domine, when that kind of music. He also composed a very lovely little piece called When to the Temple Mary Went, a piece he wrote in 1935 for the Feast of Candlemas, which is the presentation of Jesus in the temple. So again, very romantic, very typical of that time. So it begins. Choir comes in, sings the text, and then in the middle of the piece is a little a cappella section. Help now thy servants, gracious Lord, that we may ever be as once the faithful Simeon was, rejoicing but in thee. It's a lovely little introit which I have used many times here at Plymouth Church. And you can see I tenderly take this copy, which was Arthur Jennings' copy, which is fading a bit, but still I can use it. The piece he's most well known for is the anthem called Springs in the Desert, words from the 35th chapter of Isaiah. And this particular work is a piece that has been done all over the United States. And I still, from time to time, have a call or an email from someone, is the Arthur Jennings of Springs in the Desert the same one who was in Minneapolis? And I always say, of course. So the piece begins with the organ, and then after F sharp minor, it turns to F sharp major, and the choir comes in. And they continue, the wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad. And then is a little interlude, and it's a very stormy, bombastic one. And I asked Mr. Jennings, where did you get that idea? And he said, it's a theme from one of the Louis Vierne organ sonatas that I loved, and I thought I could make that work here. And then the choir comes in and sings, a highway shall be there. And then gradually the piece gathers steam as it says, the ransomed of the Lord shall return with songs and everlasting joy, joy, joy. And finally that fades away and comes this beautiful ending. And they sing, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. And now a cappella. Music of Arthur Jennings. Have a wonderful day.